we have your attention, please? We'll be starting up shortly.
The name for that allowance. Urban.
Good evening, and welcome to the Lowell Planning Board for May 19th, 2014. Tonight, we have a continuation of a public hearing. 3 new public hearings under site plan and a new zoning amendment. 2 of the matters that we have on today have a site plan for 847 and 803 Rogers Street. Those matters are currently the McDonald's and the Hannaford Supermarket located on Rogers Street. We did receive a letter from the applicant, and I will read that in to the record. Dear Mr. Linehan, on behalf of McDonald's and Hannaford Brothers, we respectfully request a public hearing for these applications be continued as followed. Excuse me. The planning board meeting, they're requesting that we continue it to our next public meeting on June 2nd. Also, the matter is due to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals for May 29th, and they also gave us correspondence that they're requesting to continue that matter to June 9th. Is anybody here tonight who's here for either of those projects, for the Hannaford or the McDonald's? Nope, no one here for that project tonight? So, okay, at this point in time, what's the recommendation of the board in regards to those 2 projects?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue both hearings to the planning board meeting of June 2nd.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair Joe votes yes. Hearing none, that motion carries. Those matters have been continued. Okay, moving along, back on the agenda is the site plan review and special permit for 1085 Barnum Ave. This matter was before us back on May 5th. We opened the public hearing and continued to this evening. I'll read the notice again. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an application by Sisters of Charity of Ottawa seeking site plan review and special permit approval for a proposed project located at the above address. The applicant has proposed an approximately 31,454 square foot building featuring 48 unit supportive assisted living unit and 15 units for memory care, with 150 parking spaces on 357,327 square feet of land as part of the Duville Senior Center facility. The proposal is located in suburban single-family zoning district and requires special permit approval and site plan approval with the planning board under section, section 5.1.10 and section 11.4, respectively, for the zoning ordinance. The last meeting, I believe, we had introduction was given to us. We heard from attorney, I believe it was Paul Faxton, and we heard testimony from Ms. Pendergrass. We heard from the architect, Mr. Paul Young. We heard from the civil engineer for the site layout. I believe it was John Noonan. I believe we heard from David J. in regards to the landscaping. We heard from Matt Kittner from facilities manager. We had some talk about the traffic on the site and how it's been to be delivered. There was a couple of questions about that they need a zoning board of appeal variance as well because they have a 0 setback coming in off the road, and they're working with their close-by neighbors on that part. Mr. Boyle had a question about the landscaping. At that point in time, we asked him if anybody was in opposition. Hearing none. We were short a planning board member last meeting, so we could not vote on the special permit that needs 4 votes, so we continued both matters to tonight's night. Our planning board member, Mr. Lockhart, is present tonight and did watch the meeting that night live on TV, so he has fulfilled our Mullen rule by voting, by signing off on that, so he can vote this evening. So at that point in time, I'll turn it back over to the applicant, and I hope I did a good job on the summary.
Mass. We're prepared to answer any questions of the board, but we did give our full presentation at the last meeting. We do have John Noonan here. There was some very minor modifications to the plan, and he can walk you through that. So we'd be happy to do that at this time, if you'd like.
Sure. Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, John Noonan with Noonan McDonald's. Since our last meeting, we did make revisions to the plans based on department input. Those plans were submitted last week, and the revision date is 5/13. On the site plan, we added and affirmed their sign locations, sign locations for the fire lane that the fire department requested. We took the 3 signs, we put painting on both areas where vehicles will not be parking, so that we have on those areas, let's include the fire department if they have to respond to an emergency. That was the change to the site plan, including change to the update to the open space down in the zoning table. In the grading plan, we added the area that will be used for dewatering if the water isn't counted, which I really don't think there will be, given the type of soil type we have, with sand, and the depth of the water table being in excess of 18 feet. But if it is, dewatering will be sent to a frac bag in this location, where we'll weed through and then enter our own detention basin on site in that property, which has no outlet. And we also added this note, so this will be the only construction entrance to the property during the construction period. The other access will be blocked and will not be used. There were no changes to this sheet, the sheet stayed the same. I think the only other change was to the last sheet. And after we had already done the topography update for Grooville, in the meantime, some optional parking was installed, was non-zoning required, so I did thoroughly show it on the topo where that parking is located. If you noticed, it was brought out that there's a differentiation between the 157 that we have in total, but I said we were only creating 121 more. The reason for that is I was accounting for these spaces. We weren't including them in our new total for the facility, but we did want to have them accounted for. And basically, those were the only changes to the plan.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody else want to speak in regards to this project? Anybody else want to speak in regards to the project? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. Anybody want to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none. I'll turn it over to the board members. Before I turn that, let me just speak with staff. Judith, do you have any follow-up questions in regards to, I know since we were here last time, we did receive the comments from department heads, like the police department and the fire department, and we received other comments from engineering. I think a lot of the comments that were addressed by planning staff were addressed basically at the last meeting that we had prior to that evening. Is there anything you want to address?
I believe all of the comments have been addressed, and all of the additional material that I had mentioned also has been put on this new revision of the plan.
All right, thank you very much. At this point in time, any of the board members have any comments? Any questions or comments, anybody?
I wanted to ask about if there has been any meetings between the applicant and the DPD to discuss the planting and landscaping issues from last time, the additional trees that were required that weren't shown on the plan?
Hi, I'm Matt Kittner. I'm the facilities director. We did get the information from the planning department about who to contact. There was some people on vacation, so we are still trying to work through that, but we fully intend on working with the experts in the department on the landscaping, along with our architect.
Okay, and the, what was it, 22 additional trees? Total of a minimum of 22 trees. That's something that you can commit to?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, all right. My opinion is that we don't necessarily need to see that in a revision before the board, that condition to work with the applicant would be, to work with the DPD on a plan would take care of that.
Anybody else, any comments?
I have a question.
Mr. Lockhart?
Your special permit, under section 5.1.10, lot width, could you just explain what you're doing there? Make sure I'm clear about it.
Let's see, originally this was one parcel which started here and ran through, up and over, and actually includes an area in here. And what we did is we cut this piece off, so this was separate from the remaining parcel. But in this location right here, I'll show that on the slide plan. And that's down to 4794. That's where the reduction is, and that's why we need the
Oh, okay,
special permit for the lot.
all right, okay.
That portion of the lot. And the table,
Excuse me,
72, we're at 4794.
all right. Can say that, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Bob, any questions?
No, I
Okay.
think I'm satisfied with the changes that were made, and I'm fully prepared to vote on this.
Okay, so the request, and we have to vote on two matters tonight, one being the site plan and one being the special permit. If we could take the site plan first?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for site plan approval.
I'll second that.
Presented.
Motion made and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes. And we have one abstain. And special permit,
I'll make a motion that we approve the special permit for lot width reduction.
I'll second that also.
motion's made and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes, and we have one abstain. So both matters carried. Good luck and thank you very much. You're welcome,
Thank you very much.
welcome. Check out the
That's
okay,
amazing.
one, isn't it?
I'm sorry? She has it in the back.
Did he ask about the microphone? Yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay, excuse me, moving along, the next matter is a site plan review and a special permit for 279 Pawtucket Street. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an application by Ken Cole Investment Trust seeking site plan review and special permit approval for development proposed at the above address. The proposal consists of construction of a 4-story mixed-use building to accommodate 6 residential units and 2 commercial retail spaces with related parking. The applicant is seeking 1 special permit and site plan review approval under section 12.1D and 11.4 of the Lowell zoning ordinance. The parcel comprises of approximately 15,473 square feet of land and is located in the traditional mixed-use zoning district. May we hear the case for the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Rogers Street, Lowell, representing Ken Cole Investment Trust. With me tonight is Ken Kaiser and his wife. Ken is the trustee. We get Brian Godrow from Hancock Associates, along with Joe Pesnola, who are our project engineers. As the notice stated, we're in front of you tonight for site plan approval and an Article 12 special permit for the construction of a 4-story mixed-use building at 279 Pawtucket Street. Mr. Kaiser has a P&S with Hawkins Real Estate for the purchase of the property, which is subject to the obtainment of these permits. Property is zoned TMU, and the proposed use is one that is allowed with a special permit under Article 12. As we presented this board on a meeting on St. Patrick's Day, and also as my narrative states, the building will include a large garage area, a laundry room, and mechanical rooms on the ground floor. Mr. Kaiser runs a real estate management business. He manages his own properties, plus he manages properties for other people. And he will store his equipment, materials, and some of the vehicles in that garage. The second floor will include 2 offices, one for professional use and one for retail use. And the third and fourth floor will each contain 3 3-bedroom residential units. And it is anticipated that these units will be occupied by students at the university at UMass Lowell. The parcel has frontage on Pawtucket Street and slopes down towards the northern canal. It also abuts Fall Street, which is a private way that will provide access to the property. Mr. Kaiser intends to improve Fall Street to a 20-foot travelway to allow access to both parking lots and his project, along with allowing the Sisters of Charity of Ottawa to get into their entrance on the property. He will be solely responsible for the maintenance and snow removal from from Fall Street. At the meeting at St. Patrick's Day, it was also suggested that we meet with the city traffic engineer to discuss the traffic in that area since the improvements were made at the university. And I did personally speak with Eric Eby, and Eric Eby did meet on site with Mr. Kaiser. And I did agree in my narrative that we would restrict any left-hand turns on the property, and as he stated, from Monday and Friday from 6 to 9 a.m., 3 to 6 p.m., and that's what we agreeable to do. He agreed with him at that time. He has also spoken with a lot of the abutters, and I think some of them are here tonight, and they seem to be in favor of the project. And you also received a letter today from Adam Bakey from the university, which seems to be in support. He was suggesting 2 matters that he would like us to consider. We can agree with one, but we can't agree with the other. We can agree to provide some additional lighting on the building which will illuminate the sidewalk, but to bring a public sidewalk onto our property is a big problem for liability purposes, so we cannot work with that. I'm going to turn the matter over to Brian, who prepared the response to the staff comments, and he can go over the engineering and also, his response that he sent. But based on the design of the building and what Mr. Kaiser intends to do in the area, I think this is a good project for the city of Lowell. He intends to operate his business there, and since his presence will be in the building, you can feel confident that the property will be maintained and there won't be any problems. So I'm going to turn it over to Brian at this point in time, and Joe can speak if he wants to, and if you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them.
Good evening, Brian Goodrow with Hancock Associates, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So Jim went over the basics of the project. We're proposing a building, 2 parking lots. The 2 parking lots are going to be in 2 specific tiers, given the grading on site. We fully meet the parking bylaw through the parking reduction by shared use. 20 spaces, if you count up all the uses specific to the bylaw, 20 spaces are required. When you calculate out the use by time, it allows for a reduction, and we're required to have 17 spaces on site. 19 spaces are proposed, including the 3 garage spaces. Fall Street is is intended to be upgraded to the local type A standard. We're going to increase it in width to 20 feet. We're going to table at the entrance at 5%, at 3%, and then grade down to the existing grade towards the northern canal to meet existing. At the end of the proposed improvements, we're going to be curbing the roadway with sloped granite to maintain access to land owned by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for the northern canal and maintenance of the locks. On-site stormwater management is being taken care of through collected by deep sump hooded catch basins and discharged into an underground infiltration system. All stormwater meets the local requirements. In terms of lighting, the parking lot's going to be lit by two dual head fixtures in between the upper and lower parking lots, along with wall packs on the rear side of the building to illuminate the parking lot. Speaking to the letter that we received today from UMass, they were requesting that lights be put on the front of the building to light up the pedestrian walkway, as well as the building, which Ken has agreed to do, pending comments from DPD staff. We received a comment review letter from DPD dated May 12th, and I'm going to summarize and then briefly go over our responses with them. Per the review letter, number 1, there was a comment regarding Fall Street and routine maintenance being held in a homeowners association. This is a mixed-use rental development. There is no homeowners association associated with the project. There are no condominiums. It's going to be on Ken to maintain all of the stormwater, all of the curbing, to plow. As it was said, he owns a property management company. There's going to be such vehicles on site, so obviously they'll be able to maintain the road in working condition at all times. Comment number 2 was in regards to traffic and the restriction of the left turn only movement out of the site from 6 to 9 weekdays and 3 to 6 p.m. Ken has agreed to that. Comment 3 is in regards to the caliper of street trees. We're proposing a total of 8 trees on the landscaping plan, and 3 of those are going to be held just outside of the right-of-way on our property. We would recommend that 3 inches not be made a condition of the board, because typically when you have younger stock, the survivability of the younger stock is far greater than a mature planting. Comment number 4. There's some questions regarding curbing on the sites. We are proposing curbing on Fall Street at both the end and on the left-hand side of the site. Fall Street's going to be super elevated at 3% to pitch all runoff towards our property and towards our on-site underground infiltration system. Sloped granite is proposed at the end of Fall Street because of the access that's being required to be maintained towards the northern canal. The reason why it's granite is for longevity, so that when trucks mount it and whatnot, it's not going to be damaged. Comment number 5 is in regards to the ADA space, and there's 2 key points to that. One is the location, and the other is a door, a point of egress to the building. Speaking to the door first, Ken has agreed to eliminate that door. It's a secondary entrance exclusive to the contractor's garage in the basement. There's a door adjacent to it that leads into the lobby, and that should be sufficient for access to the building. In regards to the first part of the transportation engineer's comments, the location is adjacent to the building because site topography is dictating that that's how we can create an accessible route to get into the building. The location requires a three-point turn to get into it. However, there are 3 garage bays directly behind it with an expansive pavement and plenty of room unrestricted to allow any vehicles to get into that parking space. Comment 6 is in regards to construction phasing. Nothing out of the ordinary is going to go on this site. We have the building and 2 separate parking tiers, so there's ample room for staging. We've shown erosion control, and typical construction practices will be maintained throughout construction. In regards to the construction entrance, Falls Street is going to be the one point of access to the site. The pavement's going to be ripped up. We need to make the roadway improvements. That's where the construction entrance will be located. Number 7 is in regard to a note on retaining walls over 4 feet in height. That note is on the cover of the plan sets, and the walls have not been designed by a structural engineer yet, but they will be submitted to DPD staff. The next 3 comments are from the traffic engineer. The first one is speaking to the restriction of the left turn lane that we have agreed to. The second identifies the ADA space, which we've gone over, why it's located where it is, and we've also agreed to remove the door that's in the maneuvering aisle on that space. And the third point is a no parking sign that was asked to be installed in front of the property, which Ken has agreed to. Water District has 4 comments. These are in regards to the existing condition sheet. When the building was raised and before Pawtucket Street was improved with the new University Ave Bridge, 2 new water services were stubbed out on site. The existing conditions plan was created in 2011 prior to this, so we will update that with the appropriate information. Comment 4 is in regards to the same, and then comment 1 following is the same as well. And those are the comments and our responses to them. Would you like to add anything? Okay. If the board has any comments?
Mr. Chairman, Joe Pesnola from Hancock Associates. We do have building plans that have been submitted that were prepared by Gavin and Sullivan. When we did say it was a 4-story building, it's from the street presence, it'll be 3 stories. The first story will be the retail and office space that will present to the streetscape, and then the second level will be the first level of residence, and the third level is built into a very attractive mansard roof in keeping with the historic nature of the area. From the back, you'll have that won't be visible from the street. You'll have access to that lower level. The grade down Fall Street is 10 to 12%, so we very quickly get down to that level to be able to access that lower level. So we think Gavin and Sullivan have done a great job putting together a plan that fits the topography, uses the topography, but fits into the character of the neighborhood.
Anybody else want to be heard on behalf of the applicant at this time? No? Okay. Anybody here this evening want to speak in regards to this project, either in favor or against? Anybody want to be heard? Just come to the microphone, please, sir. State your name and address for the record if you would. Thank you.
My name is James McMorrow, 21 Leonard Circle in Lowell. I'm also employed as an independent contractor for the Sisters of Charity at 267 Pawtucket Street. I take care of the property for them. Before I start anything tonight, I was wondering if the board would like to, on the data report for the Pawtucket Street development, page 4, there might be a correction that might need to be done. Third paragraph, it says currently Fall Street is a private way, is predominantly gravelled with a paved driveway entrance in disrepair, which is true. On-site, a fieldstone retaining wall lies along the right-of-way. The next sentence, across from Fall Street, the abutting lot is separated by a concrete retaining wall, a screened chain link fence, and gated access to land controlled by the locks and canals at the rear of the lot. That fence is controlled and access is with the Sisters of Charity. So that will bring me to where I'm going to speak in favor.
Where is that?
Pardon?
Where are you reading from?
Item 3.
On the data report that was online in support of the Pawtucket Street development, page 4, third paragraph.
I don't think we have that.
Joe, could you just come over here and pick up a microphone so people at home can hear you? Thank you. Thank you. You could use the one right up there if you would, just push that and point to the site. Thanks. Thank you.
Fall Street provides access for two properties in addition to the subject property. The Sisters of Charity has that fence along here, and it is correct, that was a little confusing in the report. Has a wall and a fence here. The wall cuts out about halfway down, and you've just got the fence. Within the fence, there's a gate, and that gate provides access into the backyard of the Sisters of Charity. We've done the grading such that we respect that, and we are making some grading changes up top, but when we get down to that access point, we haven't adversely affected that. The second property is Locks and Canals. It's listed as Commonwealth of Mass, but it's under the control of Locks and Canals. Not sure how much they actually go down there, but that property does run down along the northern canal. So as Brian noted, we've provided mountable curb down here so that we can control our drainage. But up in here, we're pitching the road from the Sisters of Charity towards us and collecting our water. But we're not having a curb on that side. So again, they'll have no impediment to access through that gate and into the backyard.
Go ahead, sir.
So that was one of my first concerns is the water as it runs down onto the street, as it hits that gate, if there's no curb on that side, as it hits that gate, will it come into our property? Or will there be a storm drain prior to that, as it comes down, prior to that gate on that side? I was going to ask you to stay.
No, as I said, it'll be pitched away from, the roadway will be pitched away from, so it'll be
Okay.
slanted to one side. So all the water will go away from,
Great.
from the Sisters of Charity property, and then there's a catch basin at the end to collect that.
That's acceptable. The other concern that we have with the property that the sisters have, it's an 1824 building. And being on the incline that it has leading to the canal and the river, the only access for emergency vehicles, landscaping vehicles, maintenance vehicles, is through that gate. And it's my concern as the maintenance person there, more so for emergency, when we have no parking on that street as it gets developed, what if it gets out of control for us? What kind of controls do we have where it's going to be held in an association with no parking? Do we have the right to, call a tow truck? What happens on something like that? That is a big concern that I have. I have some pictures that if you gentlemen would like to take a look at. This is at present, the university, Shawmut, their builders across the street. They do park on Fall Street at present. I've had some nice conversations with them and asked them temporarily to just park on one side, and it's on the side of the Mr. Kaiser's property on Fall Street. Document number 1 shows us looking down the gate. You'll see the sun coming through the gate on the right-hand side. Document number 2 is my car parked on the other side, on the right-hand side of the road, and the vehicle's parked on the left-hand side of the road. And you can see it is pretty narrow right there, so if that does happen. Document number 3 is my car, which is a Pontiac Vibe. It's considered a subcompact. With vehicles parked on that side of the road right now that the contractors are parked in, yes, I can make it in. But my subcontractors with their vehicles, a Ford F-150 with a trailer on the back, our tree guy, there's no way that we can get a vehicle in there if people park on the road. And that's just a concern. Let's talk about fire equipment. A lot larger than our landscaping trucks that come in and stuff like that do all the maintenance. So that's basically what my concerns are for this project. I am speaking out in favor of it. I think it's a great thing that's going to happen for this neighborhood. I support it as a homeowner, and I think I support it through the Sisters of Charity. I think it's about time, and it's only going to enhance what is out there right now, along with what the university, the sisters, all the funeral parlors, how they maintain their property out there. It's wonderful, and the homeowners on the backside. I'd like to take the opportunity to comment on what the traffic engineer, Mr. Eby, said. He has a great point that no parking on the street, which I just spoke of. The other thing is the no left turn. It's a nightmare taking a left turn out there with the way the intersection has been designed. We ourselves in our parking lot have a sign posted, no left turn for any time coming in and out of there, which I think is very important to maintaining the safety of people coming on the streets, in and out of the parking lots. So I do support what Eric had said, Mr. Eby, as far as the no left turn and no parking on the street itself. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Sure, Mr. Flett.
Right now, we don't have any control of those cars that are parked on that street because he doesn't own it, but Ken will make a commitment that as soon as he owns it, he will stripe that area, no parking, and make sure that those construction vehicles are out. Of course, when we do a little construction, we do the parking lot, we're gonna probably have to park some cars on that street, but once the project's done, once the road's done, there'll be no parking on that street whatsoever. And as soon as, like he said, as soon as he takes title, steps will be taken care of to get those construction vehicles out of there.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak in regards to the project? Yes, just come to the microphone, please. State your name and address for the record.
Ann Romanowski, and I live at 17 Mount Washington Street, which is 3 houses up from Pawtucket. As mentioned before, that the traffic in that area is really an irritant. Having to cross the bridge one day, I had to go up beyond Saints to take that bridge in order to cross the river. So you can get some idea of how difficult that area can be when it's congested with traffic. Washington Street is used frequently as a crossover to get to bars to continue down Fletcher, and our street is extremely narrow. And when students are in the neighborhood, as example, house next door is rented to 8 students. That's 8 additional cars in the winter. They do not remove their cars during snowstorms, so the street is extremely congested. So my point is, I think this property is great because it will block the blue light on the bridge from shining in my kitchen. And so that's a wonderful thing. And secondly, but I'm wondering about, the residences having 3 bedrooms to begin with, because you may have 3 students per apartment. And then is it going to be like 4 apartments? 6 apartments. 6 apartments, 3 people per apartment. So that's 18 cars. And that might sound a little crazy, but, next door there are 8 students, 8 cars. And because the apartment building on Pawtucket, those students cannot park in front of the building on Pawtucket because of the new, the new intersection lights. So they are also parked on Mount Washington Street. So you can imagine the congestion in the area. So I'm just wondering, how you're going to control all those cars. Plus, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to make it much more difficult in that area as well to go in and out.
Thank you. Sure, absolutely, sir, go ahead. Just state your name, please, sir.
Hi, Ken Kaiser, Ken Cole Investments, the applicant tonight. I'd like to address the parking issue that was brought up here. If you've got 8 students and 8 cars, that's a abnormal situation, because the statistics are that 33% of the on-campus students have cars. So that would be 1 out of every 3. I anticipate almost all of my students to be walkers and not have vehicles, and the reason they rent so close to the university is because they don't want to have a car. I've had a lot of foreign students come in and they don't buy vehicles and they want to be right on campus. So this is going to be right on campus. These are going to be very nice apartments, and they're going to be probably the most sought after ones on the campus, because they're going to be the nicest, with an elevator, plenty of parking. Requirements are met on parking, but out of the 6 apartments, if I have 6 cars total, I'd be surprised, because they're going to be able to walk to both North and South Campus with under a mile each way. So I don't anticipate a lot of parking problems. And I have parking in the back. Yes, I mean, I currently rent to about 22 apartments on North Campus and South Campus as students, so I'm familiar with this. I own a 6-unit on University Ave. I have 0 parking, no off-street parking, and 3-bedroom apartments with 3 students in each. So I have 18 students there and 0 parking, and I don't have a problem renting the places. So I don't feel that there's as much student traffic as might be made out to be here at this point. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak in regards to the project? Anyone else want to be heard? Anybody else? At this point in time, I'll turn it over to any of the board members have any questions or comments? Mr. Fischett, may I start with you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple questions first to Attorney Flood, and may have to check with Judy here. On the no parking sign on Pawtucket Street, have we confirmed, is that already city ordinance? And they were just asking to, I was a little unclear as
I
to,
think he's just asking us to place them along the city sidewalk, yeah. It would have to be based on a city ordinance, yes.
and do we know if that's already in place and they're just
I don't.
asking to reinforce it with the signage, or do you have to go before the city council?
We're agreeing to it if it can be done.
Okay,
I
so,
don't have a problem with it.
Judy, do we know that? Before the city council?
But we will
Okay.
provide the signs, we will do
Okay, all right, I just, it wasn't clear whether that was, they were asking you to put up the signage for ordinance that was already in place to reinforce it, or whether or not you had to go before the council. Okay, so
It's
it'd
on city property.
be subject to the city council approval. Okay. One of the things, have you considered, given the location and the type of housing that you're looking to, the student housing that you're looking to use as primary source of the residential units, is putting bike racks anywhere on the site? I mean, that would be in keeping with the master plan, and we're looking for that for the special permit and,
I think there's some area in the back of the parking, just before the Locks and Canals property, where I have a large landscaped area where I could put a bike rack back there.
okay, I think that would be something to work with DPD.
Yeah, I think it's a good
that would be in
idea.
keeping with even the master plan and in the type of housing that you're looking to propose. I know, looking at the master plan in the TMU zone, now, there's going to be office space and retail space. I know we probably don't have anything secured right now, but any idea of what type of retail?
I have nothing secured at this
Okay.
time. It could be retail or office, both,
Okay.
either way, it'll meet the parking. And I don't have anything going on right now, but we're looking towards another office or retail, but we don't know what it'll be at this time.
I mean, clearly the intent, the TMU zone is, traditional mixed use. It says it right in the zone. So I like the fact that you're proposing exactly that, mixed use. So we've got, matter of fact, it's taking it to another level because you're looking to put a contractor's garage in there, so you really got mixed use in there. So from that perspective, I think it meets the spirit of the criteria for the special permit. My question to you is, and I'm not an expert on the size of the trees and and I know there's a huge expense difference from going with 3-inch caliper to the smaller. The engineer wants to speak to, I'm not necessarily convinced about the, one's easier than the other, but as far as the adaptability to replanting and, the
Yeah, I think that
likelihood
the
of it.
survival
rate.
The survival rate is better with the 2-inch trees. A 3-inch tree just means that it's been sitting in a nursery somewhere in a ball of dirt for another year and not in the ground maturing like it should. So they have a tendency to not survive as percentage-wise as a 2-inch tree.
2-inch tree.
You will find quick growth in the fact that we're required to have 4 trees, but we're proposing 8.
Right.
For the
Right,
area.
I do like that. Now, can somebody go over the 6-inch bituminous berm versus and I understand the slope granite, we went through that with another project came before us, and that was an issue at the end to be able to go over that. And so if you can just kind of go over that berming a little bit with us. And Brian, with all due respect, my hearing is going as I'm getting older. If you could speak up a little bit more, and we have a microphone there, but.
All right, so essentially what we're, can you hear me?
Put that
Essentially,
closer to- yep.
what we're doing is we're pitching the road towards our subject site at 3%, so all the stormwater is running towards our on-site collection system, which is right here. So no curbing is going to be required on this side up here, because no runoff is going to hit it. Typically, curbing provides 2 functions. One's public safety, and one is for runoff, controlling runoff. We have a retaining wall and a fence.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't even imagine how you could get it in on that side with that retaining wall that's there.
Correct.
It doesn't mean, yeah.
So then it goes to the sloped granite down here. It's curved, so we can channel the runoff into the catch basin. All the rest of the roadway is proposed to be bituminous concrete. It's Cape Cod curbing. And then also there's going to be retaining walls on this side as well in the islands. So in terms of vertical granite, it really wouldn't serve more of a purpose to control the vehicles, keeping them within the access of Falls Street because there are those secondary controls. And sloped bituminous concrete is going to provide the function of controlling runoff and directing it to where we need it to go.
Now, you specifically call it concrete. It's not when you say Cape Cod berm, is it, because we've used the concrete, matter of fact, I think we used it on the site that you did on Middlesex Street with the granite, and did we mix in the back? Did we? No,
it's Cape Cod in the back.
Is it Cape Cod in the back? Okay. And can you go over the slope from the first parking lot down to the bottom parking lot and the retaining wall. I know you haven't, that final design has not been put in place, but I just have a better idea, because based on the drawings that we have, it really, I'll be honest with you, I have no visual concept of how that's going to look at this point in time.
All right, so essentially, we're starting at Pawtucket Street. Down here, we have to maintain existing grade. So we're maintaining local type A standards. In the actual roadway, we have 3% for 25 feet, which is a leveling area so that people can pause and make a turn. Coming down, it's 12% to meet existing grade here. The upper lot is 4 feet higher than the lower lot. And in between the two, there's going to be access with steps. So right around the area that the steps are, there's going to be small retaining walls on either side. And then in front of the parking spaces along this row is going to be a 4-foot retaining wall separating these two lots. And that grade is being dictated by the grade of Falls Street itself, coming down further to hit existing. So you got two lots about 4 feet difference in elevation. And the lowest point of the site is back here in this corner, where this parking lot is sloped at 5% down to the low point here, and this one's doing the same towards the catch basin by the dumpster here.
Okay, and then the, boy, it's really attractive with the canal in the back there, but it seems extremely dangerous too. How are you going to treat that as from a safety perspective?
Yeah, if you take a look at this area here, this is where the canal drops off. This is heavily vegetated with trees and whatnot. So your most dangerous section is going to be right in here. That leads pretty much into the canal where there's a lower concrete pad. We proposed a guardrail in this section.
I'm sorry, you're proposing what?
We proposed a guardrail in this section.
Guardrail. What's the material of the guardrail going to be made of?
It's wooden.
Wooden guardrail, okay, all right, so it's going to be a heavy grade wood, yeah, good, okay, all right. And then I understand you're willing to put the no parking signs on Falls Street so that, to address those issues. Although it's a dangerous situation as it sits right now, if that's a concern. I was there today, and I have pictures of my vehicle in there with all the construction. I was surprised when I went to pull in. It was loaded with cars, so it's a very unsafe situation as we sit right now, I suspect. But now, have you heard from, I don't have any comments from the fire department. Judy, have we heard anything from the fire department on?
No, I haven't heard specifically from the fire department.
Okay. I understand.
Reason why they haven't.
But we're required under
Yeah.
site plan and special permit to receive feedback, just in case there's something that we've missed on this. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Fischett. Mr. Lockhart, any questions, comments?
Yeah, just a couple. I did have a question about the fire department as well, but on the lower part of Fall Street, on the outside canal side, there's no curbing all the way down? Just to clarify that?
Are we speaking to right here or down
Yeah,
in this
even
area?
further down.
Down in here?
Yeah, to the end of the road.
Down here?
Yeah.
This is a gravelled section of Fall Street that we're not
All right,
intending
that's
to
gravel
improve.
there. That's right, too. Okay. That's all I have, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
thank you, Mr. Lockhart. Mr. Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going over the comments one by one. The issue about the homeowners association. The applicant brings up a good point, if this is all under one ownership as a rental property, that's not so much of an issue. However, we have no guarantee that it will remain that way in the future. It could be possible to condoize the building, the residential units, the commercial space, at which point it would become more important. Would it be an option for us to include a condition not requiring the creation of a homeowners association at this time, but requiring the creation of one if the building goes condo? Would that be objectionable to the applicant?
Well, if it happens, I don't have a problem with that, but he's gonna be there, that's his office. He hopes to be around for many years. He's a UMass Lowell graduate, he's in the business, and, but no, I know what you're saying. If it became a condominium at a later date, we don't have a problem setting up a
Okay.
homeowners association to
We
maintain
planners are
that.
long-term thinkers. This building will be here for a century. So who
We
knows?
Hope it is. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, the
Okay.
conditions of that.
Good, excellent. Did we get any feedback? I assume various people on the planning staff and engineering staff saw their May 16th Hancock Associates response?
Unfortunately, I did not get feedback from engineering. The feedback that you have is what we have already received from staff.
Okay. I'm not sure about, I would be interested to hear what the DPD's, what the landscape architects there think about the issue of tree size versus survivability before making a decision.
I thought you'd be happy, Mr. Boyle, we got 4 additional trees than required. We got 8 trees in there now.
Oh, you know what? I didn't start off with my compliments. Wanted to start off with the compliments. First of all, nice building. Very nice design. Nice building. Secondly, I do appreciate the extra trees.
Right.
Okay? That is definitely a positive. I also, and we're gonna have to get back to this topic, but the planting in the front with the row of shrubs, I think it demonstrates an effort and a commitment to present an appropriate and an appropriately caring face to the neighborhood. You know, and so I did appreciate that that the applicant is thinking in those terms. Cape Cod berm on the private way. Where we're talking about there being more than one user, where we're talking about it being a private way as opposed to simply a driveway that's over one person's property, I am not comfortable with Cape Cod berm for that. Inside a parking lot is one thing. On the right of way, I want to see more solid material. I'm not saying that along the side we have to go all the way up to the straight granite, but that stuff just gets plowed out within a year or two. The standard Cape Cod berm. If it's any kind of heavy trafficked area, it just doesn't last. It's my opinion. The handicap parking space location, this is another thing I would like to hear back about to see what the transportation engineer has to say about the applicant's response. I certainly see the applicant's opinion, where he's coming from. It makes a lot of sense to me. On these issues that touch on engineering and engineering design, I don't like to have the design going on at the planning board meeting so much, as I like to have that worked out beforehand between the engineers and here, make sure there's a meeting of the minds, everybody understands where everybody else is coming from, see if a final design can be settled on. Yeah, where there is such a slope on this, and it is near the northern canal, this issue about construction entrances and on-site phasing that's brought up in number 6, I think that becomes a bigger deal than it does in a lot of other projects. Again, I would like to hear whether the city engineer is satisfied with the applicant's response here, and whether we should go forward, if we can go forward with some kind of condition or not.
or whether a condition is even required.
Which one are you talking about, Joe? Which comment?
Comment number 6, the board may wish to discuss construction staging areas on site and construction phasing, particularly where the construction entrance would be located. And your response is the construction entrance is intended to be set back from the Pawtucket Street right-of-way and Fall Street. It's in the, do you know where I am in the Hancock report? Okay. Could you show the attorney where, Councilor Flood, what I'm talking about?
Your access is going to be on Fall Street to do the construction, right? Isn't that what you're trying to?
We responded in kind. He was asking, city DPD staff was asking where the construction entrance is. We're showing the detail, and we're telling him exactly where it's going to be, which is at the entrance right here.
Okay, but the city engineer hasn't seen that plan and hasn't given us feedback on what he thinks.
I would assume they've seen the plan, they just haven't sent any feedback.
And just haven't gotten the feedback back.
There's been no comments from them.
Right, we just haven't received the comments back from them.
Right, okay. Ditto with the design of the retaining walls. Definitely want to get the okay from them. Okay, we're in agreement about the turning restrictions. Okay.
Well, can I just point out for that handicap space, there's an elevator on that side of the building, which is, that's the logical spot for that space, so they can get in and take the elevator up. I mean, I don't know what other comments. They can open the doors now, because we're not gonna have that door, so they can gain access to the building. I think that's the best location for the handicap space, so they can get to the elevator. Do you have, I mean, was that your concern? Where else could you put it?
Where else to put it and how else to orient it to take into account how the access has to be. I want to get, like I said, I don't want the engineering design to be done at the meeting. I want to hear from the engineers that they've looked this over and are okay with it. And the last point I wanted to bring up, as Mr. Kaiser was mentioning earlier when the concern was brought up about the number of cars, that he expects that many, if not most, of his tenants, of his student tenants, won't be bringing cars, that they'll be taking advantage of the pedestrian opportunities that the site and the location present. They can walk to the campus, they can walk to University Crossing, they can walk to downtown. It really is an area that has value as a pedestrian neighborhood. Mr. Bakey brings this up, and it's clearly the university's intention that they want to take advantage of that and promote that and encourage pedestrian access between the campuses along Pawtucket Street. And this is a project that can both take advantage of that, such as by planning on there being a lot of regular pedestrians living in this building, as well as the retail space, for example, taking advantage of the of there being a street presence, of there being a pedestrian presence. And to that point, that's where I think I want to talk some more about the design of that front yard space. The issue, I could see where Mr. Bakey was going with the desire to get to fit in a couple of tree pits, to provide, for a better pedestrian experience. The design of that space itself, I think it could stand to be rethought in terms of taking advantage of and making a contribution to that pedestrian experience. One possibility would be if a coffee house or a restaurant or something were to go into that retail space, of using the exterior space for outdoor seating. That's something that's very popular in the city. If this is going to grow in its importance as a pedestrian area, be an excellent location to sit and people watch. The plan, as presented, is for a row of shrubs back by the building with grass in front of it. Probably end up being about 4 to 5 feet of grass going all the way up to the sidewalk in front of a building in a heavily pedestrian trafficked area. I'm not sure that that is really going to work. If you look at 6-foot wide yards, especially 6-foot wide yards that have shrubs growing in them that, when they were first put in, were looked at as being pretty small shrubs, but then get larger, take over more of the yard, you don't end up with shrubs and then 5 feet of grass. You end up with a lot of mud in there, especially if it's a heavy pedestrian area. All right, if the proposal to expand the sidewalk back onto the property isn't feasible, I would like some thought put into what is, to make it more, to take advantage more of this, of the pedestrian opportunity.
You want to address that?
I'd like to address some of your points there. On that I'm in the business of landscaping. That's what we do. That's going to be meticulously kept up in front. We're going to have an underground sprinkler system. The shrubs will be designed so that they won't be fast-growing. They'll be slow-growing shrubs. If after 5 to 10 years they're overgrown, I'll replace them. As far as the curbing goes, and with outdoor seating, if you're going to put, it kind of defeats the purpose of the pedestrian way, because then that would be in the way of that. If you're going to put trees along the street, those are 4-foot pits, and that takes up almost the 6-foot sidewalk that's there now. Then I have 6 more feet, so that's going to be the pedestrian way. So you wouldn't be able to put outdoor seating. It would be in the way of the pedestrian way. As far as the curbing goes, and you mentioned that it's multiple uses or users using that street. It's not really multiple users. The sisters have a parking lot back there, and they very rarely use that. Their parking is up top on Pawtucket Street, where they mostly come in and out. The area, if I'm not mistaken, is more for landscaping companies and people that come in maybe once a week. As far as locks and canals, I haven't seen a locks and canals vehicle in years. I don't know when they ever come down. They might come down once a year to inspect or do something, but so there's not going to be a lot of traffic up and down. And that curbing is on the left-hand side, and the plows will not damage it because they'll be going with the curbing. They won't be ever plowing sideways. They'll be going up and down. On your concern about the staging, with the upper and the lower parking area, my intentions are to immediately get the system in place, the underground system for the stormwater, and then use that lower parking area as the staging area and parking for construction vehicles, so we can get them off of Fall Street as soon as possible, and that way we can, be farther away from the building itself and work on the upper parking lot while we're working on the building, and use the lower parking area for staging and construction parking.
It's a nice idea that Adam had, but our building, we've designed this building before we got this letter from Adam, and it's 6 feet from the sidewalk. As Ken said, to put those tree pits in, that's 4 feet on the sidewalk, so that means you'd have to come all the way almost to the building with the sidewalk, which doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Plus, the city's going to be walking on his property. If there's an accident, someone falls down, of course he's going to be sued. And the city doesn't have insurance, it self-insures. So, it's a nice idea, but if the city wanted to come in and take that whole area on every piece of property, that might work. But this way, you're going to be walking down in and then out. So I just don't think that works.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah, and I can see that the particular suggestion from the letter might not work. At the same time, I'm still left with this sense that basically what's proposed is a front yard, a small front yard. It's got some shrubs, and it's got a little lawn. And we're not talking about a residential use on a side street. We're talking about commercial storefronts on a main street along a main pedestrian area. And however, however nice the plantings are and however good it's maintained, that's really a secondary question in my mind to whether a front yard is really the best use of that space to take advantage of and contribute to the pedestrian climate.
Well-
Particularly where it's a retail space. You could have customers in and out. Think about that.
It's only
Stores that are up near the sidewalk, on the sidewalk, customers coming, going. How many do you see that have a front lawn?
Well, you look across the street to O'Donnell Funeral Home is a front lawn. Next door, Lauren Funeral Home is a front lawn. Most of them on the street have a front lawn. So this isn't any different, I don't think.
That's, all right, and that is a fair point. If we were talking about a district which was remaining in its uses as it was, that would be an excellent argument. But where we're talking about the University Crossing just went in. The applicant himself is proposing what I think is an excellent change of uses to bring in more commercial uses with the storefronts and the residences up above. This is a change to what this stretch of Pawtucket Street is going to be. And that is what Mr. Bakey was talking about here. That Pawtucket Street becoming this major route with considerable pedestrian traffic, which I assume Mr. Kaiser is here working to take advantage of with his retail space and with his commercial space. I would like an effort to further take advantage of that in the use of the front yard space.
Well, do you remember what was there before? It was a 3-story building which had a front yard. I mean, this is the way it was.
No, it was not this way. It did not have commercial space.
No, it didn't. It was all residential.
The addition of the commercial space, which is perfectly in keeping with the vision that's behind the University Crossing, that's a significant change. It's a significant positive change, one that'll have a positive effect, one which is in keeping with the long-term planning for the area, and one which could be further advanced with a little reprogramming. I'm not talking about anything difficult here, like tree pits in the public right-of-way and an access easement over your applicant's property.
I think I know what you're talking about, but this isn't Bridge Street. Bridge Street, you had to go to the sidewalk to develop there. This isn't the zoning in this area. I think what they've designed is a beautiful building with a little grass. I think it'll look nice, a little landscaping. I don't know what else he can do. I think he's spending a lot of money to do this. He's going to build a nice building. He's going to operate there himself. He said he's in the landscaping business. He's going to maintain it. I think you ought to put a little faith in him.
Just to add to that, the 2 entrances to the 2 commercial spaces will be 6-foot wide brick paved walkways. So that's going to add a lot of space of pedestrian space walking up to the 2 units. And on either side, there's a sidewalk coming out from the side exits that will meet the front sidewalk. So there's still going to be a lot of pedestrian way and access to my location. And other than that, it's a passageway of 70. It's only 75 feet. So I don't know if we'd even get more than 2 trees if we did do that, but would take away significantly from the sidewalk.
I'm off the trees. You've convinced me. The tree idea, nice in theory, it's not going to work. I am definitely off the trees.
Even if I added 2 feet to the sidewalk to make it, an 8-foot, I don't think that's gonna aesthetically match the surrounding area. I don't think it would look appeasing and wouldn't fit into the rest of the
What we had.
sidewalks.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with the old Butler School property and what's going in there. The way the commercial buildings were built, they're back from the sidewalk away. Then there's the sidewalk, which is within the public right-of-way. But then one of them, the area between the front door and the public sidewalk, it's made into sort of a plaza space. And it was larger than yours, but it's a place where there was a little bit of seating. It was hardscape, matches the sidewalk, and the people who were going to be using the retail space, there would be a little outdoor space that people could also use. Provides a little bit of street life to the area. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. You seem very
Well, this
committed
isn't
and
a strip
attached to
mall.
the
I don't
front.
want it to look like a strip mall, because it's not a strip mall. And I know strip malls have pavement right up to the buildings. It is more residential than it is commercial. And I wanted to bring that point out where, and I have requirements for green space, and I think I'm over the limit anyway, but I'd like to really make this a nice-looking place with, beautiful lawn, and the sprinkler system, make sure it's not burnt out, it doesn't die. I'm going to be owner-occupied. It'll be fertilized, it'll be green all the time. It'll be beautiful. People will be commenting about how beautiful it looks in front when they drive by or walk by.
Like I said, it's a nice design. I'm sure you're talking about nice materials. I'm sure it will be very, very nicely maintained. It will be a very nice little front lawn. Given the use of the space, given the direction that the neighborhood is going in, and the intentions for it, I don't believe what I'm suggesting. I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy. I don't think what I'm suggesting is any sort of an aesthetic step down. I don't think it's, you can have a very beautiful, very nicely designed, very attractive, usable urban space, as opposed to an attractive landscaped design that you'd have in a yard. I don't feel that based on your response, I think what I'm saying sounds to you like I'm asking you to downgrade your project to something less attractive. And I think that's an unfortunate way to look at it, because I believe that taking advantage of the street life, providing opportunities that will enhance it, a place where somebody might sit, a place where somebody might take the business that's going on in the retail space outdoors in nice weather, whether that's having a nice coffee or whatever. I think that actually is an enhancement, and it's a positive contribution in light of the city's ideas about development and where we're trying to go.
But that all depends on what type of business you have in there. If he has a dry cleaner who wants to sit outside. I mean, if he's gonna have a restaurant in there, a yogurt shop in there, then maybe he could do that at a later date. He's got the room to do it. But if he has a dry cleaner or a cell phone store, there's no need for people to sit outside. So, I mean, he hasn't made that decision yet, so I don't think, that can be done at a later date. I think it's a nice design. Like he said, he's gonna landscape it, he's gonna have trees, he maintains it.
I think you have great suggestions on what you're saying, and I'd like to, take them under consideration. But I'd like to go forward with what we have on the papers now. But I think they are good, and I think if I do get that kind of business, that I reserve the right to be able to change the front to meet a streetscape that would look nice.
Okay, I hope you would, all right, good. I hope you would, I've been able to convey what I'm saying here, and that you're able to see how that could be an opportunity. Obviously, if what you've got going into your space isn't something that would be appropriate for. And the front yard design would be better, by all means.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, what does that leave us with? Okay, and finally, the access to the Sisters of Ottawa's property. Right now, it's just, there's sort of the gravel/dirt road, and then if you were to open that gate, you go up onto a lawn?
I think it's not just gravel, there's some cracked up concrete.
Okay, so you go from the cracked up pavement onto the lawn. All right, I would just want to make sure as the paving goes in that the fact that there's a quote-unquote curb cut in that location that's accessible, that is appropriately taken into account. It's graded the right way. If necessary, a driveway apron of some kind, depending on as you get out there, what site conditions require, if you need to keep the water flowing the right way. Okay?
No problem.
All right. I will filibuster no more. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Malvich?
I only have a couple of things. I have a concern about the retail space. I would have a concern if there were a takeout facility there with prohibiting cars from parking in front of this building, and then we're creating a generator for cars to pull up in front of the building to pick up their food.
You gotta put a no parking sign out there, I think that was
Yeah,
part of
that
it.
doesn't stop anybody.
Well,
That's just something that would concern me. I would like to see activity, an ice cream shop or a cafe, a little bit different, but a takeout pizza place would be a generator of parking.
I don't think he'd want that next to his own office anyways
No,
because of the
I
smell,
wouldn't.
so. I think he's gonna be
Plus,
very
neither
careful.
would the tenants, just because the smell of the facility would permeate the whole building.
He's gonna be careful what goes in there. You can,
Yeah, I would
he's
hope
making a
so.
big investment and
I think he's got a good building design. I think the site's well laid out. I don't really have much of a problem with this development.
Thank you, Bob. Yes, Mr. Lockhart, follow-up?
After reading through the notes there, you would indicate you're gonna be running your business out of there and parking business vehicles and equipment. Can you just comment on the impact that might have on the site? I have no idea of volumes.
Yeah, I have 6 vehicles, 3 pickup trucks, and 3 vans, smaller size vans. I don't have box trucks or huge pickups. My biggest pickup's at 250. They do plow, and the vans are equipped with tools and things, and they go out and do maintenance. 3 of the vehicles are taken home each night by the employees, so there'll only be 3 there at night. We meet at 8 in the morning, and at 8:15, everybody is gone, or they should be gone, and they're gone for the day out and into the neighborhoods of Lowell doing various maintenance, cleaning, painting, landscaping, snow plowing, whatever they might do. We don't come back during the day. We don't do any work at our garage. We don't change our own oil. We don't maintain our trucks there. We do it through a garage that where we hire, we hire out. So on weekends, we're closed on weekends, so there's no Saturday and Sunday activity at all back down there at the garage. So it's the trucks return at about 4:15 in the afternoon, and at 4:30 is quitting time, and 3 of the vehicles go home, and there's no activity again after 4:30 every day.
Do you anticipate any other kind of service vehicles entering or exiting the site on a frequent basis?
We do all our own maintenance, and unless I need a air conditioning company, electrician, something like that for a repair in my building, they would come in. But we don't meet contractors there unless it has something to do with maintenance of that building in particular, but, you know, we will cut the grass and do this landscaping and snow plowing ourselves. We will clean the hallways ourselves. If a unit is vacant, needs painting, we do that all in-house, so there shouldn't be a lot of outside contractors.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Mr. Fiat, do you have any follow-up?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just if I may, just a few small things here. Following up on Mr. Boyle's comments regarding the front yard, I don't even know if it's appropriate for us, Judy, would it be appropriate for us to have a condition that if the, because we're going to approve a plan that's presented to us, that if the use were to change, and the applicant were to redesign the streetscape, that it would be subject to board approval, or, I mean, I think, would that be appropriate, I think? And I think you've agreed to that, if that was the case. I think, to your credit, I think the design that you have is an urban scale design.
Know what you're talking, if you want
Yeah,
to-
exactly, yeah, yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, if that's.
But right now, we don't know what's
I
going
would
in there
like-
anyways.
I've clearly not yet sold the applicant on the desirability of doing this. However, at a minimum, I would like us not to get in the way should he decide to do it in the future.
Right.
And so, what I'm thinking of at this point is including a condition that alterations to the landscaping plan in front of the building can be approved at the DPD staff
Okay.
level, so that they don't have to come back
Yeah, I'm
before
trying to
us.
think of what your intent was on that, just to, so we get it out in the open.
I mean,
here.
if he put in
Yeah.
yeah, like a patio or something, let them do it at staff,
Right.
sure.
Yeah,
Right.
so-
Because I do believe what you have is appropriate for what you're presenting, and it really is an urban scale landscape based on a 6-foot frontage and what's around there. So I think based on what we have presented to us, I think it's appropriate, but, okay, I just want to make sure we're clear on that. And I think.
So if it were to be, the use were to change, then it would be, the applicant would work with DPD on the design.
Yeah, I don't even think we're talking about use change, because, you know, we're talking about from one retail use to another.
The landscaping you were talking about, the landscaping plan changed?
Landscape.
Yeah, that give the applicant the flexibility, you know, because normally we approve this and you have to do your landscaping and keep the landscaping as shown on your plan. I'm saying we put a condition that actually loosens
Right.
our oversight and
Yeah, okay,
lets you
that's-
change that without having to come back to us.
Okay, all right. And then if you could clarify with the curbing on just one side of Fall Street, how are you planning to handle how that's going to look from Pawtucket Street? How is that going to look? I'm just trying to picture that in my mind, because it certainly isn't attractive right now. I mean, I have a picture of it, and it's,
Right now, it's deteriorated asphalt and gravel. It's overgrown with weeds. So we're proposing to widen it to 20 feet and pave it. So it's going to look like a 20-foot wide paved road. On this side, there's no need for curbing, and I don't think, from a visual standpoint, driving down Pawtucket Street, walking Pawtucket Street, you're going to notice Cape Cod curbing. If it's installed on that side, it's not going to really provide any use outside of aesthetic.
oh, I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out the treatment when you come up. Where is that going to come all the way up to the sidewalk? Because I'm looking at a picture of it here, and, from the abutting property, looks like you've got concrete sidewalk, you've got a chain link fence with some slats through it, and no barrier whatsoever, and then you have the pavement of the walk, basically, there's granite curbing there, but I think it's 2 inches high, if that, probably an inch. And then you've got the gravel driveway, so I'm just curious how that's gonna.
So you're talking about the transition from the sidewalk?
Exactly, that is
across?
correct, yeah, that is correct.
Well, on this side right here, this was reconstructed as part of the Pawtucket Street reconstruction. We're proposing to introduce the ADA
Right.
dome pads on either side and actually have this constructed as an ADA accessible ramp. So on this side, you will get the transition that you're talking about, whereas right now, it's basically just paved from the rounded granite all the way across the property. So you will see a defined walkway on either side of the entrance up here.
Are you going to raise that granite? Is there any treatment to that walk in the front that's going to? I
Treatment?
mean, I know that's the city, but, I mean, is there anything planned for that? That's,
Wanna do it.
has there been any discussion with the city on that, as far as that sidewalk?
No,
Not yet.
no.
I mean, it's a,
Sidewalk in front?
yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful building, and you're gonna have one ugly sidewalk in front of that building.
The plan does call to repair any damaged sidewalk there, and we will probably, most likely be going underground with the utilities for the electric. So we're going to be going under the sidewalk, so we're going to have to repair a section at the left-hand corner of the building. But some of the sidewalk is new already, but you're right, some of it is old too, but we'll be repairing it.
Okay. And I'm assuming, because the remnants of a driveway on the left-hand side, that's going to disappear, so then you're going to install granite curbing in front of that space?
On
right?
the left-hand side
On the
of the
left-hand
building,
side of the
yeah.
building, yeah, okay.
There's actually granite there right now.
Well,
It's the minimum reveal.
yeah, well, it's disappeared, I got a picture of it as of today. So, okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I only have just a couple of comments. I think everything else has been discussed in detail. I know we didn't meet feedback from fire department. I was just curious if, any reason they'd have to go down that street. Most likely they wouldn't have to with the attorney flood indicated, but hopefully we can get something from the fire department in the future. Judy, is there anything from the responses from your comments, anything you want to comment on? Okay, thank you.
No, there's nothing from my comments.
I have no problem with the landscape in the front. I think the landscaping, obviously, you'll dictate to whatever use you put in there. I understand the question with widening the sidewalk. I mean, it's nice for the university to do it, and they have thousands of applicants, applying to the school every year, but for a small business like that, to make the sidewalk bigger, I have no problem maintaining it the way it is now, and, it's a whole different situation when the university is telling you to make their sidewalks bigger, when they're making them bigger because they're taking over a whole part of the city downtown, that area. It's they're maintaining a lot more students walk on the sidewalk than what's employed upon by the applicant, so I have no problem with the sidewalk being as is, as indicated by the applicant. Obviously, I like the fact that he's going to be owner-occupied. I think that helps alleviate a lot of the problems. I think if there's problems with the parking on that Falls Drive, as indicated by the abutters, they can notify the owner and say, these people are parking here, have them towed. If not, as we've done in the past, Mr. Flood, as you well know, we've had the neighbors call and tow it. That was a satisfaction. We had other projects which alleviated a lot of that concern.
I think we had something there, we hired a towing company, and on a call, we'd go and have the cars towed.
Yeah.
We did that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
We had a lot of time on that. But I think, but with owner occupied, I think it's easier to, to answer the doing,
He's
say,
there, and he can address those issues.
He can't get his vehicles in and out of there as well. The businesses aren't gonna work as well. It's gonna affect your daily, operations of yourself. But, by putting the signs up, obviously, hopefully they will help. They'll do their job. If not, at least you're on site to even have them called and towed yourself. So, the only question I had was on the vertical granite, but I understand where the slope is being a little bit different coming down on the wall on the right-hand side where you couldn't put the vertical granite in there anyways. So I think there'd be only a couple of spots you could really put in, which would be if you want to put on the left-hand side coming in, because as indicated, what we do see is, the plows knock out the other stuff and it just doesn't hold the water. And, it's better to have it in certain spots. I think a couple of spots in the interior there, it could work, because as you're plowing, how many sticks you put up and what you put up, you knock it, you hit it, you slope, you're gonna have the water coming this way, it's gonna flow differently. A good good reason for the vertical granite spots is to maintain the flow. Like you say, coming in on the right-hand side, you have the wall there, there's no place for it. But on the left side coming down, if you could have it by the exterior where the parking lots are, inside the parking lot is one area. But I think if you're limited to a few spots, you can put the vertical granite in, and I think it would satisfy the request by most people. But obviously, you're not looking for it in a lot of spots. Because indicated where you wouldn't need it, where you could use it, down the back where it's gonna be, roped off by, not roped off, but blocked there where you're putting the, where the gravel goes back there to locks and canals, I think you said, Brian, what was it right there, you're gonna put a boarded area there? So, yeah, so that's gonna go where it belongs anyways, so I have no problem with that there, but if you want to put the vertical coming down that driveway over to the left-hand side to maintain, yeah, maybe those two spots there.
So on this section right here, there's actually a granite retaining wall that's
Okay.
out there. It's
Yeah,
gonna
right,
have to
okay,
be
yeah.
reset. And then in this section here, this, again, is 4 feet higher, and we're making up that differential, so this is gonna be a heavily sloped area to begin with. So regardless if there's some damage to the Cape Cod curb, grading is such that runoff is not gonna change. This is a natural low point, this is a natural low point, and this is a natural low point. So it's gonna get to where we need it to go, regardless of the type of the material or the condition that it's in.
But you're gonna have it flowing from the driveway from where the sisters go in, right?
From here, down this way. It's gonna
So
go
if
like
you
this.
had that vertical where that one spot is where your hand is, when that
In
help
here?
control, no, down a little lower. Closer, right there.
Right,
Yeah,
right in
there.
this section?
Right there, yeah.
Yeah, again, this is that grading differential though.
Mhm.
So
But I mean,
even
so
if this
when the
curb wasn't
road's-
here,
The
it's
road's
still
tilting
gonna,
towards that area, right?
exactly, it's still gonna create that gutter and it's still gonna flow down and into this catch basin. If it doesn't get into this catch basin, we're going at 5%
other one.
across this entire parking lot. So it will get into this catch basin. So these are in
But then, I mean,
series,
if it's going
essentially.
across your whole parking lot, you know, you're looking at icing, snow, more risk factor is that if it hits that and it's pushing it downwards a little more, it might control the runoff better, instead of just wearing down. If that wears down, you're gonna have a lot more wear and tear in that whole back parking lot, both of them. But especially where you're saying the flow's coming from the other side, just to put in the minimal part of vertical granite curbing, I think it's gonna do its trick, you know, it's not gonna get hit by the plow, it's gonna hold up, and how many feet is that section right there?
That's probably 40 feet, I would say,
I mean,
give or take.
It's okay.
I mean,
He'll do that.
do you understand what I'm saying on
Yeah, I
the
understand
one
what you're
spot? I
saying.
mean, I think,
Brian's point is, though, it's gonna go that, it'll catch that other, but you brought up a good point. It could freeze during the winter, and there could be some ice.
I mean, I think it's a compromise on the vertical
Yeah.
granite request that we've had.
40 feet there, yeah. That's not a problem.
And then it really, you know, shows the entrances to both those parking lots. You know,
It brings
it-
them out, right.
You know, it really defines them, because over periods of time, you know, in the winter.
You're talking the strip between the two parking lots then?
That's the-
Approximately 40 feet.
Right there, that's what I'm talking about, yeah. Because like you said, with the walls and everything else, I think the vertical picked up there. I mean, I don't think, it indicated in where your parking is, didn't have a problem with that. I don't think Mr. Boyle had a problem with that, and the other members didn't seem to have a problem with it on your parking lot back there. Like you say, your slope will take it to where it's going, so I don't have a problem on that, but. Besides that, I like the way the design is set up by the street. I think it's a lot better than the last project that came before us. I don't think he's trying to put way too much on the site like I had a problem with last time. And I think the landscaping, obviously, he's right there, and I feel landscaping's gonna be nice. I mean, even if they wanna put a little patio out there, I know they have to do it to the city for a permit on that. It really doesn't come before the planning department, but it goes to some other city agency for the permit. But obviously, right now, not knowing that, it's kind of going back and forth on something that we have no control of to even guess what's coming in. So I wouldn't go any further on that, as long as he's meeting the requirements for the landscaping. You know, I think Joe said, mention it nicely that if he wants to change it, have it just be reviewed by staff. I'm sure planning staff, they had a problem with that, they could bring it to us, but I think for the purposes, what he's looking for, at this point in time, I think that meets our requirements. I have nothing further at this time. Any other board members want to follow up on anything I said, or? You all set, anything else?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so what we're looking for tonight, I think let's see. We need 2 votes, I believe. We need a special permit and a site plan.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
can I ask, the the sense of the rest of the board, is everyone else comfortable with the location and orientation of the handicap spot?
No, I have a proposed condition that I'll
Okay,
discuss.
okay.
Right time on that. Excuse me. Excuse me.
I will also ask the sense of the board. These questions about the staging of the construction, the number 6, is the rest of the board comfortable acting on that tonight? Or do we want to hear from the city engineer first? Or is that something we could get approved by the city engineer as a condition?
From my perspective, I was planning on having the city engineering department just approve it subject to their approval. If there was any issue, they would come back to us.
Okay,
That was my...
okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the, will we take the special permit?
Either way, whatever you're
Okay.
comfortable with.
The motion to approve the special permit subject to the following conditions. If the building is to be put into a condominium ownership, a home ownership association will be formed for the maintenance of Fall Street, subject to final comments from the fire and engineering department. Work with DPD to place a bike rack on the site. Petition the city, the applicant will petition the city council for no parking restriction along Pawtucket Street in front of the property. No parking to be posted on Fall Street. Work with DPD on the front lighting as notated in the correspondence from Mr. Backey. No left-hand turn to be implemented as recommended by the traffic engineer. The applicant will be afforded the flexibility to modify the front yard landscape subject to DPD approval in the future. And vertical granite curbing to be placed between on the left-hand side, and forgive me for not using north, south, and west as the reference point, but on the left-hand side between the two parking lots. I think that's, and again, subject to the items that were agreed upon in the correspondence from May 16th to DPD, and I wanted to go over those specific items. I get, from my perspective, I like having the additional trees versus the 3-inch caliper. So again, I don't know if the board members are going to have any issues with that. I certainly would have that as a condition that that we would allow for the 2-inch caliper trees as noted in the response. And as well as item number 5 is what the applicant is proposing relative to the handicap parking, I believe is reasonable. And again, I would adopt that as a condition unless one of my colleagues have an issue with that.
I don't have an issue with it, but I have a suggestion. That it's kind of hard to visualize that handicap spot. I know you were located there because of the slope of the property, and it's, you know, an unusual situation. I would like to request the applicant just to provide a larger scale drawing with a vehicle within it that shows the door swings, just to clarify that it will work properly. You've
So you-
described it very well, but I think a drawing would help.
Okay, so you'd
If we
like to
could
see
see
just
that.
a blow-up detail of this with the turning
Yeah,
radius,
yeah.
the movements that the vehicle actually has to make to enter that space?
Right,
Once
then
it's, just in that spot with the doors opening.
just that spot.
Well, it's a
to see
it's
that
a
it
standard ADA space in regards to door swing.
Yeah.
So you have an 8-foot parking space and an 8-foot movement aisle. So it's 16 feet across here. In terms of the actual vehicle door swings, I mean, it's 2 parking spaces that they have access to, and we're removing the door that's on the building. We're eliminating that conflict, so there's no other doors that are in that area. It's just the parking space for handicapped access.
You are eliminating it.
We are eliminating the
Oh, all
second
right,
door that's
I'm
within the
sorry,
striped area, so there's
Yeah.
no, nothing encroaching into that area.
Okay.
So you get plenty of room to open the
Yeah,
doors.
I'm all set.
And that was incorporated in that response.
Yeah.
of
That
item
was the
number
number
yes,
5,
yeah.
correct?
I'll second that motion for the special permit, correct?
Motion is made in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion carries for the special permit. So now we need a motion for the site plan.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make I think you have a very pleasing layout here, and it's well laid out and will work very nice and add to that area significantly. And therefore, I'll make a motion for site plan approval with the same conditions that were outlined for the site plan, for the special permit.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none.
Thank
Chair
you
votes
very
yes.
much.
Good luck, wish you well.
Thank you.
Good project.
Good luck with the landscaping. Good luck.
So we have, so they're going to be talking with the DPD about the landscaping plan in front of the building, as well as the location of a bike rack. I wouldn't object to combining those two. I wouldn't object to combining those two. Having one of those little sections be paved for the bike rack.
Yeah, I like that. That's a nice project. Better than the first one we saw. That's it. Traffic's on the other side, if you look at that construction. They got out of use.
You know,
Oh,
that's what even like, you know.
Okay, where are we? Oh, we're right on the.
Yeah, we got one more minute, yeah.
Nobody's here, I figured him would show up.
Okay, moving along, we do have another public hearing for a zoning amendment floodplain overlay district. In accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinance, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 290, zoning, by amending Article 12 overlay district, Section 9.1 floodplain overlay district. The proposed amendment will adopt updated floodplain management regulations that meet the standards of paragraph 60.3D of the National Flood Insurance Program. regulations adopted by the flood insurance study dated, which was revised to be revised July 7th, 2014, and adopted from the FEMA flood insurance rate map for the city of Lowell, revised 7/7/2014. So, this an in-house keeping matter, or is this that the city is mandated to update with the federal government on this, Judy? Is that what it's basically about?
Yes, the city is mandated to update to the latest FEMA maps. It has to be done by July 1st of 2014. Otherwise, the city residents are no longer able to purchase flood insurance. So after this hearing, it will go back to the city council for their next meeting in May. And with these changes, it brings us into compliance with FEMA's recommendations.
Did we hear any more from John Hamlet? We have a letter here from him. It was emailed.
You said the email that we received a conflict from Mr. Hamlet. Did you have any more communication with him?
No, I did not receive any. Actually, yes, we did receive more communication from him. Eric Slagle did respond to him, and he agreed to put together a meeting after this meeting to talk with him about the floodplain changes. But he had no objection to this going forward.
Thank you. So, anyone here this evening want to speak in regards to this zoning amendment, or change, I should say? It's because it's a proposed zoning amendment, yes, so it would be a zoning. Anybody here want to, seeing nobody in the audience, and hearing from none at this point, I'll turn it over to any of the board members. Have any questions? Mr. Fischett, if I may?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just, and again, Judy, just to clarify, as I understand it, make sure I'm understanding correctly, there's been some revisions to the map, so we're clearly, we're changing the reference to more current maps dated July 7th, right?
Yes.
And now we're deleting several definitions. Is that, again, this is verbiage mandated by the National Flood Program, so I'm assuming that there's really, this isn't up for discussion, more or less. We either adopt it or we don't adopt it.
Right, we are deleting references to definitions of Zone AH and Zone AO, as there are no, and Zone A99, because there are no Zone AH, AO, or A99 areas in Lowell. So that really was a housekeeping matter.
Okay, sure.
It's really the first paragraph that references the new maps.
The new maps, yep. Okay, thank you.
I
Anybody else
have
have
a
any questions or
question.
comments? Mr. Boyle?
I know that the floodplain maps were 1970 or something. Has the Conservation Commission or anybody looked at the new maps to see whether they're fair?
Well, what we have done is we've had our GIS department look at the new maps and to look at the number of homes that are, there are a certain number of homes that are now out of the floodplain, and there are homes that are in the floodplain. As of 2010, we actually had been updating them through 2010. So our zoning has been updated throughout the years. So through 2010, they were updated. And there were 2,911 parcels in the floodplain. And with the addition and subtractions, we've got a little bit more. We've got 3,002 in the floodplain now. And I'm sure they were reviewed by the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, because I've had personal experience with a site that was Rogers Hall. I'm a member of that board. They said we needed flood insurance, and there's no way that Rogers Hall would ever flood out. Yeah, it just was inaccurate. I want to be sure that these new flood maps reflect the accuracy of the topography that is in Lowell.
Yes, all of that was reviewed, yes.
Okay.
So some people will be happy that they're no longer in a floodplain, but other people aren't gonna be too happy to find out that they are in a floodplain. That, we just discussed with because of the insurance, obviously. And, you know, the chances of getting flooded obviously depends on
Right.
what part of, you fall under the FEMA map now.
Right, it came down to 147 are no longer in the floodplain. However, 239 properties are now in the floodplain, which
is good
caused
for
that
the
number,
property owner.
caused that number to go up. But this does enable them to get flood insurance, so if we don't do this, they won't be able to get flood insurance.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
For that.
as a lender, it's
Right,
a
yeah,
big
very
issue amongst the
competitive.
lenders, and we're the police of this in the communities. And if you do have a mortgage with a federally insured institution, the federally insured institution is responsible to make sure you have a proper insurance. And if you don't, they have to force place insurance and bill you for it. And if the lender does not do that, they're subject to civil money penalties from the regulators. So it's a very serious situation. And it does, you know, it has an effect on the value of the property. You know, just think it through. If you can buy the same piece of property that's not in a flood hazard area, that's maybe a couple $1,000s you're saving by buying a property outside the flood. It's a serious issue. It's a very serious issue. And obviously, we don't want to leave the residents of the city unprotected by not adopting this, that's for sure. So I see it more of a housekeeping issue rather than anything else. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that,
Do we recommend the zoning change that
No.
go before the city council in the future?
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, that recommendation carries. Okay, moving along, any further notices from any of the board members, from any of the corresponding boards that they're on?
I have one that
Sure,
I'd just
Mr.
like to,
Lockhart?
I'd like to share with everybody in the public too. We had, the night that we approved the Bowers House out on Middlesex Street, not Middlesex, Westford Street,
And Wood.
Westford and Wood?
at Westford and Wood.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of site work going on there now, and at our last historic board meeting, just want to assure everybody that our administrator, Steve Stoll, has reported in his regular portion of the meeting that he's continuing to work with the developer there to assure that the historic integrity of the property remains intact, and will continue to do so until completed. That's an important
Yeah,
piece of property here in the city.
that came
And-
up, we spent a lot of discussion on that, Rich, as you indicated,
Yeah.
when we had, when it came before us. You know, the question was moving it off-site and keeping it on-site,
Right,
and how they
yeah.
maintain it, and, that's very good to know, especially when someone's on-site keeping an eye on it, easier to know that it's being maintained properly.
Yeah, and Steve knows what he's doing, so.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I have some good news. The Green Building Commission, 2 meetings ago, reported that the city has succeeded in acquiring the grant money for it and will be creating the position of energy manager. Basically, this is a staff person who will be working with the Green Building Commission, but mainly working on energy projects in the city, working to continue and expand upon the success over the past several years of energy efficiency and solar energy improvements on city buildings, also working in other ways to promote energy projects among homeowners and property owners, however they may, pursuing other grants for other projects. It's a very positive thing.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, anybody else have anything else on, okay, we also have under old business, need a vote to authorize, Judith to sign plans and decisions on behalf of the planning board, now that she's our senior planner. I'll make a motion to approve that for Judith. Do we have to sign the plans and dictate up and write down our decisions?
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Anything else anybody want to discuss? If not,
I have nothing.
okay, I think we need a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Second. Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 We have adjourned. Good night and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.